Hey, Kyle here again, GlobeOfGeek.com, yada yada yada, GoG's guide, let's move on. This video is about single and double quotation and the difference between them. I mentioned this a few videos back, like I do with a lot of content, and I always say, I'm explaining this later on, stay tuned, woohoo! Well, I'm explaining that now. The difference between single and double quotations, believe it or not, lies in the variable topic. So I'm going to make a new file in our, I said file this time, not folder. Anyway, making a new file in our variables folder, and we're going to call it single, double, I spelled single wrong, oops, single, double, quotes, .php. That's kind of a abstract looking name, but we're going to keep it single, double, quotes, .php. We're going to open that up. Inside here, I'm going to show you the difference between using single quotation and double quotation. It's very good to know, and there is actually backup on it. I did research a while back because it was just rigging my mind on what the heck is the point. To start off, we're just going to echo our common text to the screen. Hello world. Notice we're using single quotation marks at the moment. Now we're going to go to our browser. I'm still on my old project, so let's go to variables, single double quotes. Hello world. Oh, hey world. So there you go. It's echoed hello world. We all know how this works. String data. I'm just using old terminology so you guys can keep it, sink it in your minds even more as we go through. Now we're going to make a variable, and we're going to call this testing data equals, what are we going to call this? Are we going to make it string data, or are we going to make it, let's make it an integer, okay? Let's make it 895. Okay, there's our string data. And if you were to echo testing data, just making sure everything's working. Plus it gives you good exercise in the previous topics, because if you blow through the whole course without just, because I've done that, I've watched like 5 hours of PHP guides before, and then realized at the end, what the heck, I haven't learned anything. So I'm explaining things over and over to make sure you get it. So now we have a new variable, testing data, 895, semicolon, it's all good. And now, what's the difference between single and double quotes? Well, I can tell you right off the bat, here's the difference. When you have single quotes, it's reading your text, right? And you remember in a video ago, it was unintentional with the concatenation video, but I ended up doing this without realizing. I started explaining the new unit. I went like this. I put testing data. Do you guys remember? I put echo testing data, and let's erase this echo, or just comment it. You never erase stuff you're working with in programming. Big no-no. So remember what I did in the last video? If you're watching it, I put the variable name inside here, the single quotes, and we went and checked, and then I was like, whoa, what the heck? It displayed the actual variable name, but I wanted to display the data. So I told you guys to use concatenation, right? You can add that on. Well, that's one way. However, there is technically another way of doing this, and this is through PHP parsing. Parsing is basically, it's running through your syntax, your code, the PHP engine, or whatever you'd like to call it, and it's checking what is there, how it interacts with the server, and then it's reading it, right? It's pretty much parsing equals reading. So it's basically seeing that you have single quotes, and it's saying, oh, you want to write this to your screen. Oh, well, testing data, right? You had this written, you want to write that. It's taking it literally. So I call single quotes the literal quotations. It's not really the official way of naming them, but it's what I came up with naturally, the literal quotes. That's what you call it. So what if you were to put this, though? Double quotes. I call these the non-literal. Oh, who would have thought, right? But what if you put the number is, and then you put testing data. Notice here it's blue this time. This shows it's actually reading the variable name, right? And then when you go and check it out here, a cool thing happens. It shows the number is 895. It's actually parsed the data here, and it said, oh, found a variable here. Here we go. Attention everyone, there's a variable. We got a money sign. That's how it finds it, right? So you don't put a money sign, your variable will be messed up. A little thing to keep in mind though, you may be thinking now, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'll never use concatenation again. My life is just amazing. You know what? Just to make sure that I never have to worry about this, I'm always going to use double quotes now. I'm always going to use double quotes. Whenever I echo something, whenever I work the rest of my life, I'm going to tell my kids to use double quotes. Well, no, you shouldn't actually all the time. When you're only echoing text, and sometimes even when you need to echo in a variable, just use single quotes. It's a good practice. You want your default to be single, and if you were to want to echo a variable, just do testing data. You can echo it just like that, concatenation operator, right? Like the string operator, as I explained. You can do that same result, right? Don't forget your space there. You go space A, but you're gonna go do that, and now you have it working. There you go. Just remember to do it like that. That's a good default tactic, because if you have a bunch of variables and you're displaying them inside of your actual output, it gets a little bit messy, and it's not necessarily the most professional thing to do. It's a quick escape. It's a shortcut you can take, and that rhymed, but it's something you can do. Just like I said, don't rely on that method, because what if your PHP or your text editor doesn't highlight? You're going to have, just say that was it. It didn't detect there was a variable up here. If I put testing data and I put double quotes, right, it says, oh, there you go. Look at that. It detects it, but what if it didn't highlight it and make it red? What if it kept it red and you had like 5 variables and you're saying your lottery numbers are 51, 18, 28. Oh, you won the lottery, woohoo! But you can't read their PHP code. So see what I mean? I'm ranting on, but it's just something you really need to remember, because I personally got in the habit of using double quotes. I actually started the video series off using double quotes, if you went and saw, with my echoing tutorial, and I'm so sorry. No, but there's just a little thing I've picked up and I'm stopping it now, right in my tracks. And a quick little note before we end this video, with concatenation, you can concatenate double quotes too. So you did hello and world. Like I said, this isn't the double quote magic, this is concatenation, different, but I'm just showing you quick. You can concatenate 2 things using double quotes. So keep in mind, the double quotes really refer to whether or not it's checking for other data. So keep in mind, single quotes are literal. It's saying what's written there will be worked with, and double quotes will say, oh, we'll give it a check. What if something else is there? It's unsure of itself, and it'll throw in a couple checks, which will lag your code down the road. You can do some checks. There are tests online available that will display the fact that echoing text with double quotes does take longer. So there's your difference. If there's the big build-up, it takes longer for double quotes. Very little amount, but it does. Let's move on to the next series. Unless I were to add more videos to this one, I probably won't, but you never know. We're going to move on anyway through GoG's guide. I've had a great time teaching you up to this point, and I look forward to moving on in the series.